What was the worst? Oh god, why did I say that moment? My ex said at the dinner table I had a slight webbing on my toe. How do you get that? In front of her entire family, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents. I instinctively said inbreeding. Forks dropped, and they all just stared at me. I didn't know what to do, or where to look. I just wanted to fucking die. 5th grade in school. About 300 kids in the auditorium for a D.A.R.E. presentation. A speaker started off by having all of us scream why whenever he would say a statement, and then ask us, do you know why? Fast forward mid-presentation and he asked, do you know why again? I screamed why I so hard it could be heard in the cafeteria. Nobody else did. Swallow me earth. Okay, so I already commented on this, but I remembered one that was way worse. I went to go visit a friend with my sister, who was working on a college campus. She took us around, and I don't know what led to it, but she told us how she got raped by a kid in middle school. Told us about the aftermath, and how she's totally fine now. It came time for my sister and I to leave. We were saying our goodbyes, and as we were walking away I said, don't get raped. I to this day want to punch myself in the face repeatedly, and I have no fucking clue why I said that. I work in a hospital. I was taking a patient for an x-ray. The patient was in a wheelchair. Me, I suck at steering these things. I'll try not to drive you into a wall. Patient had just spent 6 weeks in bed seriously injured after driving into a wall. On the morning of my wedding, the 3rd time I'd met my soon-to-be mother-in-law, I was understandably jittery about the day, probably not at the top of my game. So, I warmly greeted her by saying, hi Linda. It's so good to see you. She's quiet for a moment, and then says, actually, it's Laura. I knew it was Laura. I have no clue why I called her Linda. I was mortified, and felt like I had only one way out of the situation. I replied after a pause, no, I'm pretty sure it's Linda. To her credit, and to this day, whenever she calls me, she tells me it's Linda, and I've never called her anything but that since. At my friend's wedding, which I was standing up in, I walk into the bathroom which has 1 or 2 more men in it than there are stalls and urinals for. My friend says I guess I'll use the handicap stall, since it was unoccupied, but apparently he wasn't sure that he should use it. Without missing a beat, I said that's okay, it works for mentally handicapped people too. It was at that point that I realized that it wasn't my friend who said it, just some guy I didn't know who was in his 40s or 50s. I was 24 at the time. Silence. I quickly go into the other stall which someone had just exited, pissed as fast as possible, and left without washing my hands, so I would get out of there before the other guy left the handicap stall. I was in an interview and the seer asked me, so tell me a bit about your guilty pleasures. You drink? You smoke? I told him I enjoy a good drink and I'm definitely pro marijuana. He then said I meant cigars. Interview for an administrator in a doctor's surgery. Seems to be going well, getting through the majority of questions, no issues, no real concerns about my experience or work history, and they seem pleased with what I'm saying. Just 3 or 4 more questions and the interview would be over. Interviewer, this job can be very stressful. What do you do to release stress? Me, I've always felt less stressed after I've had sex. The interviewer and his assistant completely lost it and burst into laughter. The interview effectively ended there and then. And no, I did not get the job. Back in 7th grade, a teacher called on me to answer a question. I guess I was a little sick at the time because I needed to clear my throat, yet decided against it because people might think I'm gross or something. As you can probably guess, that didn't work out well, and I sounded like a chronic smoker. Then finally, after trying my hardest to nonchalantly clear my throat, I announced to the class, sorry, I have a speech defect. I do not. Not me, but my husband. He was out drinking with his friends. A girl comes up to him asking if he wants to dance. What he means to say is I only dance when I'm drunk, and I'm still sober, but what he actually said was I'm not drunk enough to dance with you. I wasn't even there, and I can feel that poor girl's self-esteem drop every time he tells the story. My boss, an elderly ex-military dude, asked me how are you doing? And he amused himself and followed up with that reminds me of Joey from Friends, how you doing? The question was still directed at me though. I responded, "Are you hitting on me?" He turned red and got flustered and stammered, No, my wife is next door. She was visiting the office." Then straightened up and said that was inappropriate and left my office. Why? Why the fuck did I say that? When they once announced our librarian, horrible lady, had passed away over the par, my brain faded and I accidentally said, "Looks like she finally got our library to be quiet." RIP. I once complimented a girl I know on her cute outfit and asked where she got it. She named a plus size store. For whatever stupid reason I replied, "Really? I need to gain a bunch of weight so I can shop there." I immediately realized what I had said and we looked at each other for a moment, looked away and sat in uncomfortable silence for the rest of class because I'm a jerk. This was about 12 years ago. I was chatting with two female colleagues during lunch break. When the break was almost over, I wanted to ask, "Shall we go back to work?" Instead, for some reason I asked, "Shall we go to bed?" My face instantly turned red. It was pretty awkward, but we all ended up laughing about it. In 5th grade we were at an assembly where they told a story and would hold up cards for the audience to yell. When they held the card that said gasp, everyone gasped, while I screamed the word gasp as loud as I have ever screamed anything in my life. I worked at a movie theater and an old couple asked for their money back after the half-hour grace period had passed on Brokeback Mountain because they thought it was going to be a normal western. Well, it was set in the West. There were mountains and horses and herding. What exactly wasn't normal about it? The tent. It was a pup tent. They were pretty normal back in the 60s. You know what we mean. So what do you want me to write down? Manager just doesn't let me pass out refunds willy-nilly. The but fucking, is that it? When they complained to the manager about my language, I was demoted to mopping the restrooms for the next month. Co-worker's 5-month pregnant wife was strolling into the office when my 19-year-old mouth said, "You're almost as big as your husband." Thought nothing of it until an hour later when my co-worker and I had a chat about hormones. I worked at a restaurant that served fried pickles and it was one of our biggest sellers. I had two ladies come in and one says, "OMG, let's get fried pickles." Okay, I'm paraphrasing, but you get it. Other lady says, "You go ahead, I'll pass." No biggie, I order them and bring them out with 2 plates anyway. What I meant to say was brought 2 plates in case you change your mind. I know how delicious they are and they might call your name. What I actually said was I brought 2 plates because I understand the call of the pickle. Awkward smile and cue walk off. Job interview was quasi good cop / bad cop, I guess you could say. First interviewer came out with some pretty tough questions and I was already a nervous wreck for the interview as I had applied for something well above what I was qualified for and got the right person's attention. I fucking bombed. I felt like a total idiot for even thinking I had a shot. Interviewer #2 comes out and I just blurt out, "Boy, did I fuck that up." He has a good laugh about it with me. We bullshit around for 20 or 30 minutes and I started the next week. Still not sure how or why. At a funeral, got up to the coffin, asked the widow of the deceased, "How are you?" Good damn it, you know exactly how the fuck she is. Why would you ask such a thing? So I was at a group fitness class and the instructor was known for having weird exercises like bending and swinging one of your arms in a circle and calling it making soup. He gets really into and asks the class what soup they were making. Chicken soup. Tomato soup. He asked me and I panicked and said water. This is fucking painful to type. One day, when I was young, probably 10 to 11 years old, my aunt and uncle came to our house to visit us. My mom, stepdad, brother, aunt, uncle, and myself were all looking through old family pictures. We came across this picture of me, age 2, and my brother, age 7, playing in the sprinkler. So everyone starts laughing at the picture, mostly because I'm naked kid jumping through the sprinkler. My brother laughs and goes, "I'm going to take this to school and show everyone," meaning that he was going to take it to school and embarrass me in front of my friends. My brain decides to go full shit mode and I blurt out, "Why? Does it give you a boner?" Mainly, I think I was trying to embarrass him and it was the only thing my shit kid brain came up with at the time. Everyone stops laughing and just stares at me. I realize the impact of what I said, and my stepdad just goes, "What the fuck is wrong with you? Go to your room." I get up from the chair and run upstairs, wishing I could just disappear forever. I sometimes think about it, and just have to ask, why? Why you do this to me, brain? Got let go from my job by the boss. Early that morning he had chased a robber from his house. The firing was amicable, I understood why, but knew it sucked for both of us. Trying to lighten the mood, when I walked out, I said, "Keep your doors locked." He did not think it was a reference to his earlier story. At one point I was having lunch with my then girlfriend. I asked if she wanted to say hi to her friend. She said she didn't see her. I pointed to her and asked, "Do you not recognize her bent over?" To which she responded, "Do you?" I've told this before, but I'll never forget it. I took my girlfriend to a very beautiful park and served her a gourmet picnic. After we were finished, I nervously took her hand in mine and asked her to marry me. I mumbled, or her ears failed, or I don't know what, but she replied with "sure," whatever, obviously missing what I had said. In my mind I thought, "Andrew, you idiot. You screwed this up." But out of my mouth came the words, "No, you idiot. I'm proposing." Yes, I called my wife an idiot as part of my marriage proposal. After that I kind of blanked out until I saw her crying and saying yes over and over again. Our 18th anniversary is coming up in the spring. I have never responded well to random uncomfortable news. Once when I was in college I was getting a haircut and asked how the stylist's day was going. She said her day was going well, but her dog died the night before. Without thinking I said, "Think of all the money you'll save on dog food." Instant regret. It's one of those things that pops into my head randomly as I try to sleep at night.